Hello students. I hope the first two videos helped you to understand this chapter. Let's begin the session again with the third part of the chapter. Today we are going to finish the chapter, and in the next video I'll have the question answer session. So let's have a look. That is again the English classes with class 9th, that is presented by Puri ma'am. The same chapter, continuation of the same chapter, and let's start. The previous chapter, if you could remember the previous part of the chapter, I reached to the level that Prashad met his family, and they all became very happy. Now this is a continuation of the same Red Cross refugee camp. Let's have a look what happened next. By the next morning, as he took in the desperate situation in the shelter, he decided to get a grip over himself to come out from the situation, because the situation quite became very desperate, very bad. He sensed a deathly grief settling upon the 2500 strong crowd in the shelter. Means the condition of the people, those who were there, is not good, and the deathly grief settling upon means the people, those who are inside this camp also, they were also about to die, because it was a strong crowd in this shelter. These many people were there. 86 lives were lost in the village. All the 96 houses had been washed away. It was their fourth day at the shelter. So far they had survived on green coconuts, but there were too few to go around such a tumult of people. Here means like the eating material is limitized now, but the tumult of people a lot. Like the crowd was there a lot, which is in a tumult way, like disorder way. Like people are not in proper order. It means in another words, you can understand that the situation is quite critical, and for the long time, or like up to when they can survive on coconuts only, because people are many but the food material is quite less. So they were just, and they have to think about this, and they have to come out from this situation also. Prashant, all of 19 years, underline the age of Prashant, decided to step as a leader of his village if no one else did. I mean, nobody is coming out as a leader, so Prashant decided he will come out with the leadership. He organized a group of youths and elders to jointly pressurize the merchant once again to part with his rice. Means alone he can't put pressure on the merchant, but he created a youth and elders group, and became a leader, and created a group in which youths and elders are there, and jointly he tried to put pressurize means he tried to put pressure on the merchant who was having the rice. कि एटलीस्ट गिव सम राइस टू दैम टू ईट, बिकॉज कोकोनट्स पे कब तक जिंदा रहेंगे, कुछ राइस उनको अवेलेबल हो जाए तो दे वर वेरी गुड. सो ग्रुप में वो गए मर्चेंट के पास उसको प्रेशराइज करने के लिए. दिस टाइम द डेलीगेशन सक्सीडेड एंड रिटर्न ट्रायम्फेंटली. और ये जो डेलीगेशन थे, जो मेंबर्स थे उस ग्रुप के, वो सक्सीड हुए एंड रिटर्न ट्रायम्फेंटली. ट्रायम्फेंटली मीन्स विद सक्सेस, दे केम विद सक्सेस. Wading through the receding waters with food for the entire shelter, and afterwards another situation was there, reducing water. The water is also reducing with food. Like food was reduced before only, now the problem of scarcity of water is also there for the entire shelter. So no one cared that the rice was already rotting. Branches from fallen trees were gathered to light a reluctant and slow fire on which to cook the rice, and nothing is there overly. No one cared that the rice was already rooting, because the rice was there to eat up, so nobody was caring about the water a lot. So they have just brought the branches, they had broken the branches of the trees and gathered in a reluctant and slow fire, and they started light a reluctant and slow. Reluctant means unwilling. So they came out with the slow fire. The fire was not ready to blight, because it was wet outside. अभी अभी storm खत्म हुआ है, तो चारों तरफ पानी होगा, तो उसके लिए आग जलाना थोड़ा quite difficult था. So the fire was reluctant, unwilling, on which to cook rice. ये बहुत impossible सा था. For the first time in the 4 days, the survivors of the cyclone shelter were able to fill their bellies. और ये पहली बार हुआ जब उन्होंने पेट भर के खाना खाया. His next task was to organize a team for youth volunteers to clean the shelter of filth, urine, vomit and floating carcasses. और दूसरा काम था, because ये सारी चीज़ें कुछ ऐसी बीमारी लेकर आती जिससे कि सब मर सकते थे। जैसे नेक्स्ट जो उसने वॉलंटियर किया, नेक्स्ट जो उसने लीड किया अपने ग्रुप को यूथ के, कि यहाँ पे सफाई करनी है इस शेल्टर की। किससे? या तो फिल्ड है, कूड़ा का बड़ा है, यूरिन है, ऑलमोस्ट एवरीबडी यूरिनेटेड नियर बाय, टॉयलेट करना, वॉमिट करना, एंड फ्लोटिंग कार्केसेस, और जो फ्लोट करती हुई डेड बॉडीज थी, ये सारे के सारे इजीली प्रोन करते, कुछ नई बीमारियां पैदा हो सकती थी। तो अगला जो उन्होंने काम किया, नेक्स्ट वर्क दे हैव डन, दे हैव जस्ट cleaned up the things and to tend to the wounds and fractures of the many who had been injured. And apart from that, after cleaning or side by side cleaning of the place, they just helped the fractured or the people, those who are having the wounds, they were just healing or trying to heal the wounds of the people. Afterwards, on the fifth day, a military helicopter flew over the shelter and dropped some food parcels. And obviously, military वाले ही काम आते हैं सब जगह, यहाँ पे भी military वालों ने फूड के जो पैकेट्स थे, पार्सल्स थे, वो आसमान से गिराए. It then did not return. The youth task force gathered empty utensils from the shelters. वो खाली utensils means बर्तन लेकर आए shelter से. Then they deputed the children to lie in the sand left by the waters around the shelters with these utensils on their stomachs to communicate to the passing helicopters, and they were hungry. Means they were, what did they, again now the next effort is them to pass the signals. So they deputed the children to lie in the sand. Means through the helicopter, when the helicopter people, those who were flew over there from that camp, so they decided कि कुछ ऐसा कुछ सीन क्रिएट किया जाए नीचे, जिससे कि उनको ये क्लियर हो कि they are still very much hungry, they need more food, they need more food eat or eatables things. So they made the children lie on the sand left by the waters and around the shelter with these utensils on their stomachs. मतलब बच्चों को लिटा दिया और उनके स्टमक पे वो बर्तन रख दिए जो कि खाली थे, जिससे कि एक सिग्नल मिले, कम्युनिकेट कर सके वो उस जो पास होते हुए उस हेलीकॉप्टर से, कि अभी भी उनके पास उतना खाना नहीं है जितना उन्हें चाहिए, अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द पीपल ओवर देयर. सो दे नीड मोर फूड पार्सल्स. The message got through, और वो मैसेज इजीली मिला. And after that the helicopter made regular rounds of the shelter, air dropping food and other basic needs. And with the help of that रेगुलर वहाँ पे हेलीकॉप्टर आता है और उनके लिए फूड ड्रॉप करके जाता है और जो भी बेसिक नीड्स की चीज़ें होती हैं. सो दैट वाज प्रशांत मेड अ वेरी और प्रशांत डिड अ वेरी गुड जॉब being a leader, or how to gather the people, or how to make them work and all that. So it was a good job done by Prashant. Afterwards, Prashant found that a large number of children had been orphaned, और बहुत सारे बच्चे orphan हो गए थे, orphan parentless, their parents are died. So he brought them together and put up a polythene sheet shelter for them. Women were mobilized to look after them while the men secured food and materials for the shelter. और जितने भी women थी उन सबको काम पे लगाया गया. Mobilized means they have been made work कि वो बच्चों का ख्याल रखें. और जो men folk था, जितने भी आदमी थे बड़े, उन सबसे कहा गया कि वो खाने का सामान जुटाएं, shelter create करें. As the week passed, Prashant was quick to recognize that the women and children were sinking deeper and deeper in their grief. He persuaded the women to start working in food for work program and start by an NGO, and for the children he organized sports event. और धीरे धीरे he has noticed कि gradually same काम कर करके जो women थी, that the women were and the children were sinking deeper and deeper in their grief. They were becoming very much sad because maybe the women have lost their children, or these children has lost their parents. So together they were living, but still their their grief, their pain is like deepening or continuously deepening. So to just divert their mind, what Prashant has done, he persuaded the woman, persuaded to make them agree to start working in the food for work program, and which is started by NGO. And children के लिए sports event शुरू किए गए. He himself loved to play cricket, and so on he organized cricket matches for children. Prashant engaged with other volunteers in helping the widows and children to pick up the broken pieces of their lives, and to divert them, to make them forget. Some women became widows, and children also lost their parents. So just to keep themselves away from the problems or the griefs of their life, so they did this. The initial government plan was to set up institutions for orphans and widows. However, this step was successfully resisted, as it was felt that in such an institution children would grow up without love, and widows uh, like that kind of work was stopped would suffer from stigma and loneliness. So just to help them, stigma means a kind of curse, and loneliness because the husband has been killed in that storm, and the children can also suffer with that problems like that. This step was successfully resisted. It was stopped because it was felt ऐसा लगा कि जो institution है वो children would grow up without love. So in this way children are growing up without love, and the widows are feeling lonely and so on. So Prashant's group believed orphans should be resettled in their own community itself. Means instead of making live them separately, they were settled again to their community, possibly in new foster families made up of childless widows and children without adult care. Means together in the togetherness, that the childless widows those don't have children, or maybe their children are dead, or the children who don't have any adult to take care of them. So they were made up in a family. They were told to make up or create up in a family, and they were settled up in a community itself. So it is 6 months after the devastation destruction of the super cyclone. This time Prashant's wounded spirit had healed simply because he had no time to bother about his own pain. His handsome, youthful face is what the widows and orphaned children of his village seek out most of their darkest hour of the grief. And his face, a helping face, you can say. He became the hero of that particular scenario, or he became the hero of this entire scene. So in this way, he helped being a leader. So his handsome, youthful face is, and the widows and orphans of the children, they whenever they are always in the seek of that face to sort out their problems or to sort out their grief or their darkest hour of the grief. So this way he became, and he just tried to forget his own loss or his own problem, and with this wounded spirit, whatever wounded spirit he was having, which the spirit which has been wounded by the strong storm of their place, so that was healed up, cleared up, or recovered simply because he he has no time to think about himself. He was working for others, and the smile on the others faces are making him happy too. So it's a good job done by the Prashant. It's a The chapter is also a bit uh, inspiring, maybe to you also and to us also, that this way we should help each other. So here I'm ending up this session. I hope you are understanding the chapter. In tomorrow's session I'll take that question answers of that chapter. So that's all for today. Bye bye everyone.